Hey y'all, welcome back to Homemade Simple. If we've not met before, I'm Lori. I am really glad that you're here today. I know this is a little bit of a different kind of format, but I thought that while I was going over my April budget review, I would also bring you along on one of the simple days in my life when I was at home and didn't have a whole lot going on and was able to just spend my time doing my favorite things, which is taking care of my family and taking care of my home. So I'm going to get into some of the details of our April budget, some good, some really bad, and I also want to try to sprinkle in a little bit of encouragement to help you on your frugal living journey. So I hope that you enjoyed today's video. Please, before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon and choose all notifications so that you don't miss a single upload. I'm trying to be more and more active on the channel, and I really would love to have you a part of every single video. Now let's get into some of the details about our April food and household budget. I'm just going to go ahead and start by saying April was a really hard and difficult month for us, especially like financially, emotionally. It just felt like an absolute roller coaster, and I don't know if everybody had that kind of experience. Tax day was for most all of us this month, and that I think really added a lot to the stress level of our family's finances. We had some changes going on our taxes, and normally we don't owe. We have it pretty much where it's exactly what it's supposed to be, and we might get a little bit back each year. But this year we had some significant changes, like with our dependents and that kind of thing, that really put a crunch in our finances. We had set some aside, but we hadn't set aside enough to cover the complete change and unexpected mountain of tax bill that we owed. And that was a shocker and a real stressor to our finances this month. We were fortunate enough to have the money to cover it, but it came out of our savings fund. So that just really added a little bit of a layer of stress just over the whole half end of the month. But then on the exact same day that we had to go to the accountant's office and pay our taxes, we found out that one of our cars, the engine has to be completely overhauled. Or at least that was the recommendation from the first mechanic. We are seeking a second opinion. Chris is doing a lot of learning about these kinds of engines and what to do to try to avoid having to totally scrap the car. But you can imagine whenever you have a huge tax bill and on the same day you learn that your car is now a piece of trash, that really can cause a lot of stress. And I know that y'all have been there too. And whenever you are in a place of financial stress, it really can take its toll on you, and it really can change sort of the way you look at a lot of different decisions that you have to make day to day. That really affected the way that I looked at grocery shopping and online shopping. It really made me second guess every single spending decision I was going to make this month. And I think that was not all bad. Sometimes we can get in a habit of just sort of spending on a regular basis or putting a couple of extra things in the buggy, and then we're not really thinking about each individual purchase and the effect that can make when it's all added up in the end of the month. For example, I was a lot more cautious and careful about the things that I said yes to that were not essentials. And I also was very mindful of allowing myself to make sure that I was using all of our resources in the best possible way. So instead of choosing to buy extra food ingredients, I was very mindful of trying to use the food ingredients that we already had in the pantry. Although March was a month when I really did try to use a lot of the extra ingredients that we had in the pantry and freezer. I doubled down on that in April, and I was really able to have a very small grocery budget. I normally allow for about $1,000 on our grocery budget, and I try to really decrease that as much as possible. But this month, I was able to get away with spending $461 on our grocery bill the entire month. That is a huge change, and when every little bit makes a difference, a several $100 shift from our grocery budget to our savings has really led to a lot of peace of mind. It really did show me that using self-control is very beneficial and very impactful in the long-term financial health of my family. And every time I'm able to make a good and wise decision, each one of those decisions are going to add up to a huge impact on our family budget. And it's really going to allow us to be able to save like we need to, and also to be very good stewards of the money that we have been blessed to have. So April was a really difficult month as far as big expenditures go, but April was a really good month when it comes to saving on groceries. It's very rare that I spend less than $500. That's less than $100 a person for the entire month, and I feel really good about that $461 food and grocery expenditure. On the household, I really was able to save a lot there as well. We spent just a little over $50 on our household needs. A lot of that was some vitamins that I had seen on sale at Sam's Club, and I was able to purchase a couple of those. And dishwashing detergent, I bought a big container of that at Costco, and just a few other things that I needed to pick up along the way during the month. But the purchases for household goods was really minimal this month, which really helped as well. And then the animal feed, I spent $274.59. That includes our hay and feed bill for our cow and our chickens and our goats. We were able to get rid of both of our pigs, so they are not in the feed bill anymore. And I did purchase a couple of chickens, which I probably shouldn't have done, but I purchased some chicks at the beginning of the month. I'm going to do a video about that. So that was sort of a YouTube video expenditure. And then also I purchased 5 laying hens from a gentleman that goes and purchases them from the egg producing facilities and brings them back and sells them really inexpensively. So I'll talk a little more about the reasons behind that, but I did sort of add 11 chickens to my flock, which I probably shouldn't have done, but it's called chicken math. If you don't have chickens, you probably don't understand it, but they just sort of seem to multiply, and you have really good reasons for adding chickens to your homestead. And I'll come back to the chickens and talk a little bit about why I did that in just a little bit, but sum it all up, I spent $274 on my animal feed. I mean, that really is as low as I can go right now. I have put Winnie out on the grass. I have put her in a different pen. I have really been rotating her around. I've been feeding all of our scraps to the chickens. It's nice to have feed not go to the pigs anymore, but be able to feed the scraps to the chickens. I have also been able to start selling some of my eggs to some friends and neighbors, and that has really helped as well. So the feed bill is about as good as it can be. The grocery bill this month was excellent in my opinion, and also the household goods was really good. So as far as our expenditures go, on the budgeting side of our finances this month, it went really well, and I really have no complaints. But there were some troubles, and we had to do a lot of heart to heart and serious thinking about our financial choices and things that we could do to limit our spending, as well as ways that we might could think about increasing the money that came into the household budget so that we could make the most of all of our opportunities and sort of balance out the hard that hit in April financially with maybe some good opportunities that we haven't thought of in the past or haven't taken advantage of. So I thought maybe I could just sort of share with y'all some of the things that we have talked through this month and maybe give y'all some things to think about as far as your money opportunities go, and maybe that could be beneficial to you as well. So one of the things that made April really hard was me thinking that the best way to fight this financial battle that we were having with these really huge expenditures was for me to sell Winnie, my milk cow. And although I was willing to do that in order to help the family finances, it really was weighing heavy on my heart. And I just really woke up one day and thought, I just really don't think I can do this. I don't think I'm able to part with her, because I know that she's going to be so difficult to replace. And I really would rather do different things and maybe even harder things in order to be able to meet our financial goals, but also be able to keep her, because she's very important to me and I am emotionally attached to her. And also, I was really sad about not being able to have a milk cow and have that resource available for my family. So that really got me thinking seriously about different plans and ways that I could be wiser with the way that I spend money, and also ways that I could have an income stream from the resources that I already have here in my home and on our property. And that's sort of where the chickens come in. I was buying these chickens, these laying hens, to sort of be able to turn $5 into maybe $15 or $20. I was thinking maybe I could sell them to other homesteaders as laying hens. But then I also thought, well, maybe I could just sell the eggs from them, and that might be a better option, which led me to think about maybe I could get Chris to help me build a little sell cart that I can put on the road beside my house and be able to sell some baked goods and some eggs and maybe some vegetables or flowers. It just got me to thinking about things that I could do to add to the family finances. The first place where I really started looking hard at our finances was, of course, where we were spending money. We are already pretty careful about our budget. We don't have a lot of places where we can really cut our spending, because our spending has already been cut pretty low. That's probably how most of you are. You can whittle down maybe $20, $25, maybe even $50 a month from your budget if you cancel a subscription or don't go out to eat that one time. But most of us are already going to be pretty mindful of the things that we're spending money on. And so the amount that we can sort of squeeze out of that expenditure budget is going to be pretty minimal. Maybe you have not really looked at your budget, and I do want to encourage you to do that. Take a little bit of time in the beginning part of May and just look at your expenditures. Where are there items that you're spending money on a recurring basis, but it's not really for a necessity or something you even really want to spend money on? So are you spending money on some type of subscription that you've forgotten about and you just really have not gotten around to canceling it? Well, there's a little bit of money that you can squeeze out of the budget each month, and it really will add up. Or do you have a credit card that you just put things on that you don't really need, and then the interest sort of continues to add up and add up? We don't use credit cards in our family, and the reason that we don't use them is because of the major financial burden that interest rates are going to cause to our family. And so if something comes up and we don't have the cash for it, we have to be really creative to come up with ways to pay for those items and those expenses without relying on a credit card. We do have a mortgage, so I'm not saying that borrowing money for every reason is a bad idea or wrong, but we try to avoid borrowing money if at all possible. And so if you have some credit cards, it might be time for you to really think about cutting those up and paying that off as quickly as possible. The more money you have going out, the less money you have to work with, and credit cards are a big financial suck to our monthly budget that when we can get out from under them, it really will help to be able to have more breathing room in your budget every single month. So just saying no to unnecessary purchases will really help us go a long way in creating a financial buffer to protect us whenever difficult things happen. And we all know that financial difficulties are just going to happen. It's part of life, but having a mindset that you're able and willing to solve the problem instead of worrying and wringing your hands about it will really give you the mindset shift that will help you to win in the long term. So the next place that my mind went after trying to think of all of the unnecessary things that we were spending money on that we could cut was to the food budget. And I've already talked about our food budget, how I felt like we did really well on our food budget this month. And maybe one reason that we did so well was because spending was on the forefront of my mind. If I did not need that particular item, I did not buy it. And I tried to be very mindful of not over purchasing, not overbuying, and only buying the things that were on my meal list, on my menu, on my grocery list, and not buying extra superficial, unneeded food items. I think Americans in general waste like 40% of the food in our food system. And that is a lot of money wasted. I'm guilty of wasting food. I will find a leftover meal in my refrigerator that is too old to be eaten. I will feed that to the chickens, which does make it a little less of a total waste, but it would be a lot better if I used the food that I purchased for my family to feed my family. So finding ways to reduce the amount of food waste that we have is really a good way to save as much money on our food budget as possible. Also, there is a huge difference between the grocery bill that you're going to pay at a discount store such as Aldi versus a really high-end grocery store such as Publix in the Southeast. I'm not sure what the equivalent to that is in other parts of the country, but I'm sure that you know exactly what I'm saying. If you go to Aldi or Walmart, it might not be as aesthetically pleasing to shop there. It may be a little difficult to find the things that you're looking for. You may have to bag your own groceries. But the payoff of that is you're going to pay about half of the cost of shopping at a nicer, more elegant grocery store. So choosing which store to shop at is really going to save a lot of money. In addition to that, we can save a lot of money by sticking to a meal plan and to our grocery list. If you go to the grocery store without a grocery list, I guarantee you are going to spend about 25% more just because you're being careless about the things that you put into the buggy and you do not have a plan. Having a plan is the best way to save as much money as possible on our food and household items, and it will also keep us from overspending on items that we really don't have a use for or may already have in the pantry to begin with. Talking through some of the difficult financial decisions that we have to make might be uncomfortable, but it really does open the air to allow other people to give us some really good feedback and ideas. I know that sometimes it's a difficult topic to talk about, but the more open you are with your family, especially your spouse, the better your relationship will be, and the more likely it is that you will be on the same page. And when you are on the same page with your spouse and family about spending habits and financial goals, the more likely it is that you are going to push through this difficult season and win financially. I know that y'all have so many great tips and tricks about saving as much money as we can on a monthly basis. I know that so many of you are experts in saving money and spending less, and I would love to hear all of your great tips about how you save as much money as possible and how you tackle difficult financial seasons in your family's life. Please let us all gain from your knowledge, and be sure to leave a comment down below if you have a tip that you think might help my family or maybe another viewer to be able to overcome difficulties in finances and be able to move in the right direction in the future. I know this video has been sort of long and drawn out, and I've talked a lot about different things. I appreciate so much you watching today. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. Please be sure to share this video with anybody that you think might need a little bit of financial encouragement. And also, please be sure to like the video. That will help it get to more and more people. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you have a wonderful week. I love you, and I will see you again next time.